Welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Poots, and we have another music reaction. We are getting back on the train of doing music reactions. Last week was a little bit different, doing some political commentary. Actually, today in this music reaction, I guarantee that some political commentary is going to arise. So it looks like Tom MacDonald just dropped a track called Goodbye Joe, and it is featuring Nova Rockafeller. Now, I've heard a lot about Tom MacDonald. I think I may have listened to a few of his songs. I've actually had requests on the channel to go review this guy, and I've never really, given him the chance. The times that I've listened to his music, it was on my own accord, and it was never in front of the camera. It was never for a reaction video or reaction purposes. I know this guy talks about a lot of political stuff. He dropped a song right after that first assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That was one of the songs that I was supposed to listen to on the channel and never got to. And then I think there was probably another request, probably number one and number two requests. So I don't know a lot about the guy. I just know that he does a lot of songs that, talk about, like I said, the political commentary of things that are going on in the United States. I think he identifies as a conservative, obviously with the title here, Goodbye Joe, probably saying goodbye to Joe Biden. So, I just think it's fitting, and more so fitting, to talk about political stuff right now, just with where we're at, the timing of it. We have the election that is coming up on Tuesday, November 5th. And as I am recording right now, it is Saturday the 2nd. So I want political stuff, political commentary on the channel to take a front seat, and the music is kind of taking a back seat. But this kind of combines too, it's a song, it's a music video, and it's political commentary all wrapped up into one. So I can't wait to listen to it. Again, not a ton of previous knowledge about Tom MacDonald. Probably a controversial figure for a lot of people just because of what he talks about. But, I'm assuming his fan base, really loves him and really gets behind his message, because it appears from the outside looking in, without listening to his music in depth so far, that this guy, stands on his morals, stands on his beliefs, stands on his values, and is not willing to compromise any of those things just because somebody told him to, or he was afraid of cancel culture. And, I respect individuals like him. That's why I'm such a fan of Ronnie Radke. That's why I'm such a fan and a supporter of Donald Trump. I got my new hat right here, Make America Great Again, in the black and gray, and then we have Never Surrender. And also, yesterday, after I got off work, I went to the barbershop and I got my beard trimmed up, so we're looking really fresh for this video. But I like guys, I like people that are outspoken and stand up for the right thing and stand up for what they believe in, and not just go along with things because that's what they were told to do. So without further ado, no more talking. I just want to see what Goodbye Joe is all about and what it sounds like. Tom MacDonald featuring Nova Rockafeller. Never heard of that name, so I'm assuming it's a chica. Let's see what she adds to the track. All right, here we go.
America is going woke. The streets are full of fire and smoke. This ain't the way I thought it would be. The White House full of evil folks. Americans ain't free no more. They don't respect folks like you and me. The way we're treated ain't been fair. Fake news on every TV. 4 years we've been in this nightmare. While they killed American dream. We can't afford our lives here. Ran food and gasoline. Colors don't run and the only one he wants. Buddy, don't tread on me. I won't forget the ones who died
sounds good. I love that truck too. Old school truck.
America is losing hope, divided by the way we vote. This ain't the way that this all should be. We're fighting over memes and jokes, they're burning flags that we hold close. They think that war's only overseas.
Look at her headband too, American flag.
So what, you don't know me? You got something to say, well I'm right here. Thank God for the freedom of speech. You like to claim I don't care, cause I ain't gonna bend no knees. Colors don't run and the only one it runs, but he don't tread on me. I won't forget the ones who died for our freedom, and I ain't gonna hand it back. No, no, no. If liberty and justice ain't enough to believe in, they get out of here and don't look back. Go, go, go. We love our home, and if you don't, pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with the good looks pay up. Wave goodbye to Joe. We love our land. You ain't fans. Body will help you pack your bags. Don't let the big door hit you with the good looks pay up. Burn someone else's back. If you look close, you'll see America. Oh, she don't look quite like she did. This ain't the country that our parents loved, but I still hear her on the wind. We love our home, and if you don't, pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with the good looks pay up. Wave goodbye to Joe. We love our land, if you ain't fans. Body will help you pack your bags. Don't let the big door hit you with the good looks pay up. Burn someone else's flag.
All right, there it is. Goodbye, Joe. By Tom MacDonald featuring Nova, Rockafeller. You guys will have to let me know. Anybody that watches this reaction, watches this video that is, a big fan of Tom MacDonald, or, just even a slight observer and has, seen what he's done in his career. What is his genre? What is the typical genre or sound that he goes for? Because I don't know with this song, but I feel like it sounds like country a little bit, and maybe pop country, something that you might be able to find on the radio, but they would never play the song on the radio just strictly based on what he's talking about. If they went off of the sound and how pleasant the sound was and how catchy it was, then it would get played on the radio. So I'm curious to know, I could do my own research, but just trying to figure out, what is his genre? What does he normally stick to? Because I feel like he's done a lot of different things. I feel like he's done rap, maybe a little bit of rock and roll. If you definitely look at him on the outside with all of the tattoos and the piercings and the way that his hair is cut, you would think that, okay, yeah, he's probably like heavy metal or something, but no, that was a very pleasant sound, and obviously a really good message. A lot of what he said is basically like, if you don't like this country, if you don't respect this country and everything that we were founded on, then you should get the fuck out of here and you should go somewhere else. You got a lot of these people that are saying if Donald Trump wins the presidency, then because they're so afraid for their lives, they're going to move out of the country. And I think a lot of us Americans, a lot of us patriotic Americans are like, okay, if that's how you feel, then go, because this is the greatest country on the planet Earth, solely, based on a lot of things, but mainly, our experimentation with having a free society, the ability to have all of these certain freedoms that never existed, around the world and any other country around the world. Like, America was a big experimentation when our founding fathers came over here and started this whole thing. And obviously, every country, every system has their flaws, but it is the best system that we have ever found. And I think because it's been very cush for a lot of time here in America, that's why a lot of people have dropped their eyes, on the ball. They've dropped the ball because things have become so cushioned. It's like we don't appreciate things as much. We take things for granted. It's a lot worse in other countries around the world. Now, I'm not saying that it's perfect here, because obviously we're dealing with a shit ton of issues right now that need to be corrected. But, if you fall into that narrative, if you fall into that camp or that idea, then go somewhere else. And I guarantee if those people went to a different country, they would see that it's not as good, and they would miss, the freedoms and the fortunes that they had back in America, and they would end up coming back here. And I've never understood the argument from those people that, oh my gosh, if Donald Trump gets in office, he's going to do all these crazy things. He's going to become a dictator. He's going to become an authoritarian. He's going to destroy my life. He's going to take away my freedoms, this, that, and the other. That's one of their biggest arguments. And it's like, okay, but he was in office already for 4 years and he did none of those things. You had those same fears back in 2016, back in 2020, and still in 2024. If he is this Hitler-like character that the media frames him to be, and these people frame him to be, then why didn't he execute those things already? Like, it doesn't make sense. None of their arguments make sense. They're not based in reality. They hold no weight. They hold no merit. Just none of it makes sense. I don't understand it at all. And to that same point, on that same token, people that are saying that, Kamala is going to get in and she's going to do all of these great things and she's going to fix the country and she's going to fix all of the problems that we have. That argument right there is also flawed. She's been the vice president for 4 years and she hasn't accomplished any of those things. Our country has gotten worse in every single way, shape, and form since Biden and Harris took office in 2020. Now, a lot of people are going to argue that as the vice president, you don't have certain capabilities. You don't have the power to change things the way that the president does. And that might be true to some extent. But, one of her biggest responsibilities as the vice president was being the border czar, watching out for our borders. And she completely failed at that. And I don't think it's just complete failure. I think it was designed intentionally to let all of these illegal migrants come across the border. And there's various reasons for why you would do that, why they would incentivize that. But I'm just saying that, okay, you could make the argument that the vice president doesn't have as much power as the president, but she had at least one duty, that was under her belt that she was solely responsible for, and she failed at that, or just completely turned her head the other way and let it happen. I think it's a combination of those two things. And so, and Kamala has gone out there and she's been very vocal about the fact that she is even more progressive and more liberal than President Joe Biden. So all of the policies that have been going on for the last 4 years that have made this country abysmal and put us in really bad shape, Kamala is going to take those policies and ramp them up times 1,000. Go look at the clips. She touts the fact that she's going to be more progressive and more liberal than Joe Biden. And so this song is just a perfect inscription of how a lot of Americans feel, is that we're fed up. We're fed up with the division. A lot of the division that goes on in our culture and our society is manufactured from the people that are on the top and the media and the government. That's what the powers that be, the elites that run our country, but also run across the world globally, they want us to fight and they want us to be divided, because when we're all divided, we're easier to control. Just imagine if everybody in America, despite our differences, if we got on the same page and said, hey, these are the fundamental things that we agree on, let's go for this candidate, let's go in this direction, the elites would be screwed, because that would create a unifying force. And when you have, I mean, we outnumber them, largely. And so I find it frustrating that people continue to fall for the division, this artificial division. Like, I obviously have my views, I have my beliefs and my opinions, but I'm also a very open-minded individual. Like, I would let you guys know, as being a personal trainer, and I say this all the time, I'm sure I've said it on the channel, but when you're doing personal training, it's not just about the physical, like the workout that you're giving to the client. Don't get me wrong, that's a part of it, but that's like 10% of what you're actually doing. There is so much more that goes into it, as far as, relationship building with your clients, being able to connect with people, allowing people to feel comfortable around you. A lot of times when clients, new people come into the gym, if they're like out of shape or have never been in a gym, that's a very anxiety producing situation. Those people are typically very overwhelmed, because they're like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then on top of that, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm also trying to get in shape. I'm trying to better my life. And so you being the personal trainer, it's one of the first interactions that they have in the gym, and you have to settle them down. But you also, people, and I do this, everybody does this, we as humans, a lot of times we put up these boundaries, we put up these walls. You might get people that are very shy, very reserved, on top of all of those other things. And it's your job to really break all of that down in a respectful way, not like you're trying to come in there and pry something from them and trying to get all of this information. And so there's so many things, that go into personal training. And I've had a lot of conversations with my clients about politics, and I have a lot of clients that look at things, completely different than I do. But I never try to be judgmental. I never try to attack them. I may heavily disagree with them, but I will just give them my point of view and say, hey man, I respectfully disagree. I think this, that, and the other is what is actually going on. And it's actually provided a lot of stimulating and like very insightful conversations. And with all of those clients, I haven't lost any, because we keep this mutual respect. And so I wish that people in America could come to this consensus where it's like, you're allowed to have your opinions, you're allowed to have your views, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're right, or it doesn't mean that that should interfere with the relationships that you have with family members, clients, friends, loved ones, a spouse. Maybe it could get so heated that you're like, I can't be around those people. It's just super unfortunate that people draw that hard line where they're like, okay, I'm going to abandon this said relationship because this person thinks a little bit differently than me when it comes to politics. But they fail to realize, what are all the other areas of life that you guys agree on? So you're going to discontinue this relationship just because you disagree on one thing. And that's what causes this division. And I think people are not conscious. I don't think people are aware enough to realize that most of this division, I would say 98% of this division is artificially created from the top down to the bottom, to the residents of this country. And it's super sad to see. And people even though I'm voting all Republican because I think that's the way that we need to go to restore order in this country. I've told you guys on camera before on these videos, I identify myself as a moderate, but I just realize how fucking crazy the far left, a lot of Democrats have become, which is crazy because it used to not be that way 20 or 30 years ago. The Democratic Party from 20 or 30 years ago looks a lot different now in today, into the current political landscape. And so I've always identified as a moderate, but I just realized I'm going to go red because I think that's what we need to at least get ourselves back on track. Now, I don't know where I was going with that point. Is that, tired of the division, tired of the separation. What was I saying? It was like, we're going to hyperfixate on this one thing that we disagree on and then neglect all of these other areas that we do agree on. That's so sad. Like, whatever happened to having dialogues and debates and discussions, and like, even if it gets a little bit heated or a little bit passionate, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't have to abandon that relationship. And like, I would just very much, caution people. Okay, so I think I'm starting to get back on track a little bit. Just talking about like being aware of where you're at and where these views come from, and this hatred for Donald Trump or whoever the hatred is for is like, dude, a lot of people are still sucked into the media. I don't pay attention to mainstream media because they lie. And that I'm saying that as like, I wouldn't watch like a left-leaning news outlet, but I also would not pay attention to a right-leaning news outlet. I get a lot of my information from podcasts, from independent media sources, and just being an observer, just observing everything that's gone on without really attachment to either party. And that's what has allowed me to formulate a lot of my viewpoints. And so I would really caution people, because I know people in my life, and I know this is still going on around the world and in America, is that, people are obsessed with getting online and reading these stories, or, just always consuming news. And, that's what in part kind of puts you in that state of mind where you're just obsessing about it over and over and over again. A lot of times when I talk to somebody that hates Donald Trump and I ask them, why do you hate Donald Trump? Like, where did you formulate this view, such strong hatred for Donald Trump? And a lot of times these people can't give me any rational reasons. They just get all emotionally charged up. And my point to that would be is that anytime that you're talking to somebody and they go to those strong emotions and they can't really give you any concrete examples, I feel like that's where you've won the argument and that's where they've lost the argument, because they don't have anything to back up their stance. They have been conditioned and they have listened to all of the propaganda, and that is what is feeding their anger and their resentment and the buildup of all of these strong emotions. It's like, dude, the media never shows you anything good that Donald Trump has done. They sensationalize everything. They pull everything out of context. And do I think Donald Trump is a perfect person? I don't. But I hate how people that vote for him have to use that preface. Like, America, I think, is starting to rebel in a lot of ways, and we're not going to do anything that is politically correct anymore, because being politically correct and silencing yourself and being a part of the silent majority and just always taking the high road is in part what has gotten us into this situation. And so it's like I said on the last video, like, you have to speak up. You have to speak out. We're not going to be politically correct. A lot of people would go for Kamala just because she's politically correct. I don't care that Trump has said some harsh things or, whatever his bedside manner is. That doesn't really relate to policies and what he's going to do in politics. Everybody's talking about like they wouldn't vote for Trump because of who he is as a person, but not realizing that he's the better candidate in terms of his business mind, his policies, his effectiveness as like getting things done, and him being a strong leader. They completely ignore all of the bad things that Kamala has done. But, those things don't really get talked about in the media because that would probably ruin her campaign. She just gets pushed up there in front of the people, in front of the cameras, in front of the spotlight, and presented as this person that is more politically correct. She's a DEI hire, and she's just so funny, and she's about joy and laughter, and she's just always laughing, all the time. And dude, to be honest, I cannot stand her fucking laugh. It is so fucking annoying. It's like a goddamn hyena. Oh, unbearable. But you know what? Nobody talks about that. All the fucking harsh things that she's done and how she legitimately could ruin this country to the point where we couldn't come back from it. So I'm cautious. This is a long-winded rant, but you guys can tell that I'm passionate about politics, and all it takes is a Tom MacDonald song to get me talking. I would caution people, if you can't defend your stance, if you just turn to emotions as to why you hate somebody, you have no logical reason. You have bought into the propaganda. You have bought into what the politicians have told you. You have bought into what the media has told you. Maybe some of your favorite celebrities that have told you. It's just a corrupt game. I'm glad that all of the shit happened back in 2020 with COVID and whatnot, because I think 4 years removed from that, a lot of people that were not awake back then have woken up. I certainly have. 2020 opened up my eyes to all of the corruption that was going on. And then once you start to follow that train, you start to realize that it's much deeper than you actually thought. And so Tom MacDonald, like I said, sorry, going on this rant, but coming back to the song, I thought it was pleasant the way that it sounded, but I also just love his message. He's saying, we're going to put Joe and Kamala in the past. Kamala keeps getting up on stage in her rallies, and she's saying, we're going to turn the page. We're going to turn the page on Donald Trump and all of his antics. No, bitch. We're going to turn the page on you and your administration for how corrupt you guys have been and all of the shit that you've caused in our society for the last 4 years. But it even goes back before that, because when Trump was in office in 2016 to 2020, that side berated him the entire time. And, a lot of this fucking bullshit woke mentality, this mind virus of the woke population, the woke people, it started with Barack Obama. That's where it accelerated, and then it's only gotten worse since 2008. So he's one of the main contributors. But then you have people along the way that have also perpetuated that cycle. And so Tom MacDonald is saying, dude, get the fuck out. Go the fuck home. If you don't like this country, go ahead and leave. There's a lot of patriots here that are ready to reclaim their land and their territory. Now, that comment would get taken out of context, like I'm going to go incite violence or something. That's not what I'm saying. We're going to start peacefully with our votes in order to win the election, but I'm not confident that the left is just going to hand over the power. I feel like they're going to cheat, lie, and steal their way through this election like they did back in 2020. So Americans, patriotic Americans, veterans, we do have to be prepared if that scenario unravels. Like, how are we going to respond if they try and steal another election? We can't settle for that. But it starts by saying to everybody in this country, it is your civic fucking duty. Whatever you think about either candidate, you must go out and you must vote. And I cannot emphasize that enough. This is the most critical election that I've ever faced in my lifetime. Now, keep in mind, it's only the third election that I could vote in. And I will say exactly what I said last time. If some of you guys that watch this video, if you're kind of passive and you don't really know what's going on, you haven't really been paying attention for the last 4 years, before that, take it from a guy like me who was completely not involved in politics at all, didn't give two fucks, but I voted in 2016, not for Donald Trump, not for Hillary Clinton. I voted for the independent Gary Johnson because he said that he was going to legalize weed, and that was the only thing that I care about at that point, because I was smoking weed heavily on a regular basis 2020, changed my mind, realized that we had to go with Donald Trump instead of Joe Biden. They cheated in that election. You cannot convince me otherwise. There's so much data and proof that's out there, but you just have to actually look at it, and people don't want to. And 2024 hits, and I'm going to vote for Trump again to get us back on track. So take it from a guy like me who started not caring about these things at all, got involved, completely unbiased, just again, observing, seeing what's going on, detached from my emotions, just looking at it purely from a logical, common sense viewpoint, which we don't have any of that in the world anymore. That's been completely stripped from our world, but really, with an emphasis on here in America. Take it from a guy like me that has studied politics, foreign affairs, everything that's going on in the world. If Kamala gets in, we have a real threat that we're going to lose this country and we are never going to be able to rebound. Donald Trump, again, don't care what your views are on him. He's the best candidate out of the two options that we have in order to turn this thing around. And then 2028 will hit, and then we will have two different options, and we can go a number of different ways. And so we got to save our country. We got to preserve our country right now. And I agree with Tom MacDonald. Goodbye, Joe. Goodbye, Kamala. And goodbye to your guys' crazy, lunatic ideologies. Guys, that is it. That is the reaction. That is the review. That's the video. 4 things that I ask that you guys do. You don't have to do all 4, but please do one of the 4. If you came over here, number 1, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Number 2, like the video. And number 3, comment in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys, your stories, your take on things. Let's start a dialogue. Let's start a conversation. And number 4, please share the video, share the message. You can do that on social media, or you can have conversations with people about what you heard. Basically, if I provide value, if you thought this was entertaining, if it wasn't a waste of time, please do one of those 4 things so we can grow this channel and we can grow this audience and just keep getting better every single time that I show up and present something to you guys. So thank you guys. I'm going to hop off here. It's the weekend. We're going to watch some football. We're just going to hang out. We're going to chill. I love you guys so much, and I will see you on the next podcast. Bye-bye.